Yes, I think it is just as big. We have significant track biases, and if you get the wrong draw, it's game over. Fleeting Spirit's drawn wide in 9 in the sprint, and that's not perfect. She's a slow starter also, and she's going to be towards the back early, but I still give her a good chance. If you look at the time form ratings, she's only £1 behind Sensational. She's a much bigger price. She does have a little problem at the gate, but she's a high cruiser, and if you get the scenario you mentioned about the pace meltdown, she could be the one to pick up the pieces.
Let's take a look then at the time form for the Breeders' Cup Sprint, and where are most of the main contenders ranked here?
Well, we've got Sensational top with that symbol, the P symbol, which says we haven't seen the best of Sensational. Most people would agree with that, but he's a very tight price, and the draw is a potential concern. Look at Fleeting Spirit, only just behind, and she has the potential to outrun her odds. I'm not saying she's going to win, but fillies have won this race. Brits have won this race. Sheikh Albadou did win it. Dejour should have won it, so it's not unprecedented.
I think the gate could be a problem, though. You mentioned that the barrier or the starting gate, she's a little reluctant to load and slow away sometime. They had that issue. Arc Weekend, Jeremy Nocita was very upset with the starters in France. You know, American racing is predicated pretty much on getting out of the gate. That's a big issue.
You hit it right there. You're talking about American racing. This is where we have an advantage over the Europeans this year. And if she gives up anything at the gate, she's not going to be able to make up that ground in this particular race.
But I think most American punters are probably surprised that she's second on that time form list. I mean, she's ahead of some pretty good American sprinters.
Todd, I was. When I looked at the figures, yeah.
But she's running some of the best sprint races in Europe.
She is one of the premier sprinters in Europe. She's consistent, but you're right, Tom. She does have a gate problem. It stems from the day on Arc Day 12 months ago when her gate didn't open. The rest of the field went away and she was left stranded. She's been a little nervy ever since. She was slowly away last time when she went back to Longchamp for the Abbey. So that is the concern. But if we get that scenario where Fatal Bullet and the favourite Sensational go head-to-head and really set it up for the finishers, like Gallego and Fleeting Spirit, don't rule her out. I came pretty lukewarm on Fleeting Spirit, but as the week's gone on, I've got a little more high on her chances.
Let's move on to another division. The big announcement about where Zenyatta was going actually happened when they drew for the Ladies Classic. A field of 8 went. No Zenyatta in here. Music Note was made the 9-5 morning line favorite, but a close second choice, Careless Jewel. And then there is Rainbow View, who seems like a tempting 6-1 in here.
This is a very tight race on the figures. We could have a real tight finish here. Jockeyship, luck in running could be very important. John Gosden hasn't seen this filly for a couple of weeks. She went to Canada for the EP Taylor. Gosden in feisty mood this morning with the Brit reporters, and his jockey plans have changed late. Leperou rides Rainbow View. It looks like Fortune's lost the ride on Dare Me and pounced. But this filly ran well in Canada. I'm still a little puzzled because I felt sure she'd win that race. She cruised through. She didn't quite seal the deal behind La Halib, who's not a superstar filly in Europe. But Gosden hasn't seen her for at least a couple, maybe 3 weeks. And now he says, I like what I see. She's got more muscle. She's heavier. She looks happier. You can see she's doing nothing serious here, but she's very relaxed, and she is a highly talented filly.
Careless Jewel certainly falls in that category of highly talented.
She certainly is. She's very highly talented. She's lightly raced. She's got a lot of tactical speed, and she has a statistic that's in her corner. 7 three-year-old fillies have won this Ladies Classic, so I think things are heading in the right direction for her, and I think she could lead them gate to wire here. Tom, you like a horse that's coming out of the Spinster in Proviso. She got DQ'd, but again, Spinster winners have won 9 Ladies Classics. It's a key prep race.
She made the lead in the Spinster on that particular occasion inside the 16th pole. She just lost interest, and all of a sudden made a move to the outside and caused a problem with Mushka. Was taken down for that race. She was the best that day, and I think in this particular race, with the experience of that one American race, she can come back and run well.
Then there is Cocoa Beach. Cocoa Beach with a good year last year, and with Zenyatta out this year, maybe it's all coming together for her.
Yeah, she just finished third to Zenyatta in the Ladies Secret, and she finished second in the Breeders' Cup Ladies Classic last year. I think that this filly is coming into the race just perfect. She's won 10 of 16, and she is just hitting on all cylinders, and she looks great right now.
And that concludes our look at the calendar today by looking at the Sprint and the Ladies Classic. We will have another calendar turn tomorrow, our final one here on The Works. While we have Graham with us, we want to ask him about some of the horses who came out to the track and how they're doing. I was kind of pointing out, I don't know that you guys can still claim Red Rocks since he's come to the States so many times, but he is a horse who obviously started his career overseas and has done very well, shipping back and forth.
If he wins, you better believe we're going to claim him. He's a bit long in the tooth now. He's still a high-quality horse, but I don't think he's as good as Conduit, Spanish Moon, or Dare Me for that matter. Brian Meehan is making positive noises. He says the horse needed the race last time. we've seen with the likes of Better Talk now, the horses can come back and run extremely well, even at advancing years. But I think anything better than fourth would be a real target for this fella.
Looking at the turf sprint, Strike the Deal, there's obviously many layouts to sprints over European courses. How about this course in the layout of the turf sprint? Can the Europeans handle it with success?
Some can. Whether this one can is another matter. He's struck a really good rapport with Kieran Fallon, powerful jockey, and he needs to be, because this fella has a tendency to just be a little bit lazy in the middle section of a race, and that is a trait you can ill afford in a race like this chaotic turf sprint.
Strike the Deal going to the turf sprint. Here is Buzzword.
Yeah, I saw him when he was coming back from his work. He was very hot and lathered, but he seems pretty calm at this point. Buzzword is another of those sort of second-ranking Godolphin juveniles. The plus point for him is this stable are absolutely firing in winners at an unbelievable rate in Britain at the moment. He's contested good quality races in Europe, and he's come out of it with his reputation enhanced. But it's true to say he needs a career best to win this.
Staying with the youngsters, a horse we talked a little bit about yesterday, but now we get a good look at, Vale of York.
Yeah, big bandages on. He always wears that shadow roll. He's a key goer. He's a good quality horse, but you have to think you need a serious Group 1 animal to win this race this weekend. And from what we've seen in Europe, he's a Group 2 horse at best, and he needs a career best to hit the board. I think he'll run his race 5th, 4th perhaps.
In the early part of the year, Gladiatorius had one of the best time form ratings in the world. How does he look this time around, this point in the year?
Yeah, he's a big, handsome brute, and it's a question of, is he back to the form he showed in Dubai? If he is, he's going to really put the X factor to this mile, because he's powerful. He runs very hard, very early. Goldikova's going to have to get out of the wide draw and try and follow him. But it's a question of whether he's back to the Dubai form. He went to Italy last time. He showed signs of a revival. 2 turns could be the key for this fella.
He likes the left-handed sharp turns, right?
Exactly,
yep.
Exactly. He went on straight course at Ascot. He didn't look anything like the same horse.
Also staying with the mile, here's a look at Delegator.
Delegator is he's a serious contender here. I really like this horse. I think connections think he may well just struggle to get a stiff mile, but a sharp mile like this, he's a high cruising speed. He's got one short, potent turn of foot, and I think Frankie has to ride him with maximum confidence, try and get the break at the right time, and try and put his head in front in the final 50 yards.
So if I'm reading this right, as far as the TVG mile is concerned, you're not conceding the race to Goldikova?
No, I think it's a bit more competitive than that. I think we've got in Delegator a horse who is highly likely to run a career best here. If he does, he's in the mix. But Goldikova, Freddie Head was at the barn today. He says she's better than ever. Ignore the last run. He said it was a complete no race. And the fact that he's talking about bringing her back next year even suggests that he thinks he's got this race. If not in the bag, then certainly pretty close to it.
And she's going to get the pace to run out, hopefully, with Gladiatorius in there. Could be setting the early fractions for her to close into.
Graham Cunningham, well done once again. Our Betfair correspondent joining us. He'll be back once again tomorrow and throughout the week with all the latest information on the European shippers headed to the Breeders' Cup World Championships here at Oak Tree at Santa Anita. We'll have more of the works right after this. After our final work show on Wednesday, the baton is handed to some preview shows. Thursday, live here somewhere in LA, will be the preview show for the Breeders' Cup card on Friday, and then on Friday, a preview show for the Saturday Breeders' Cup card. Both shows again at 5:30 Pacific time here on America's Horse Racing Network, TVG. But the works continues on, and we now look at the field that drew in to the juvenile fillies presented by Grey Goose.
You can see a full field there. 12 go Postwood, and Blind Luck at 3-1 on the morning line.
Tail.
Yeah, with that tail. She's had it on all her races, Tom. If you just paid attention to some of her backtracks, you would have known that.
I went to her pedigree. I had to make sure that the pedigree was correct.
What is it?
Well, there's a conflict there.
Yeah.
Okay.
What I think it is and what the email said are two
Okay,
different
oh,
things.
you got an email. Connie and Michael, how about this? Off a maiden victory is our second choice at 4-1.
Yeah, and on the other end of the scale is the Mazarine victory, Biofuel, a grade 3 winner, who's 15-1. I think post position probably got something to do with that for trainer Reed Baker, but this filly is undefeated in 1 start around 2 turns on a synthetic surface. I think she's an interesting long shot. Unfortunately, the post position is not going to help her, but if she has the same running style as she did in that Woodbine victory, it doesn't really matter.
Tom?